A year ago, we found out we were pregnant after years of trying to get pregnant and struggling with infertility. I never shared my full reaction, and here it is. Thank you, Jesus.
8 out of 10 women who are childless didn't intend to be childless. It's called involuntary childlessness. Around about 10% of women are physically incapable of having kids for a variety of reasons. 10% said that they actually didn't intend to have children, and that leaves a whopping 4 out of 5 who didn't have children due to life circumstances. That's the most common reason for it, and the most common life circumstance is leaving it too late to find a partner and then have kids. You break through that fertility window on the other side. These women who get into their 40s, who always intended to have a family, who realize that they now can't, they go to support groups, and these women are grieving for families that they never had, which is just brutal. Like, to think that you can grieve for something that didn't occur.
How far are you willing to go to have a baby? Welcome back to the channel, everyone. My name is Rogan. This is This Baby Gal. On my platform, I do social commentary and reaction videos. I encourage my audience to have private conversations in public. So that's the question. How far are you willing to go to have a baby? This is a conversation that I've been wanting to have on my platform for a very, very long time. And it was during a conversation with a woman recently, and it was a really profound conversation. And it affected me in such a way that I said, okay, I think this is now the time to talk about this on the platform. I don't know if this is one of those videos that a lot of you will be able to relate to or want to talk about. But I think it is something that we do need to discuss because there's so much to talk about. For many couples, the journey to parenthood is not easy. And I think that's putting it very lightly. In fact, it is extremely difficult for a lot of couples. If you find people who are open with you, they'll tell you that they have been trying for many years. I know many people who have been trying for decades to conceive to no avail. You have couples who are battling infertility, and it could be from the woman or the man. You have some couples who have been battling diseases, could be like cancer, and it's been extremely difficult for them, or the treatment from cancer has rendered them infertile. You have women who have had multiple miscarriages, and doctors have said, listen, you're putting your body through a lot, so it's time to consider adoption or surrogacy or something else, because it's just taking a toll on your body, and not just your body, but your mental. You have people who want to do IVF, and it's not cheap. I have friends who have done IVF before. Hundreds of thousands of dollars. Hundreds of thousands of dollars. You have people who have mortgaged their homes, cashed out their retirement savings, sold property, done all sorts of things, all in the hopes of having a child. So we're going to talk about that today because it is one of those difficult conversations, and I know some woman or some man is going to come across this video, and I hope that they can take part in the conversation down below in the comment section, because I think it can be a wonderful resource for other people who are going through this.
Love me or hate me, God knows you made it. Winning ladies' eyes on me.
I want to read some information first of all about IVF, because a lot of people typically turn to IVF when they're having difficulty conceiving. Others know about IVF, but they know it's also incredibly expensive. And the prices for IVF vary throughout the world. In the United States, on average, a single cycle of IVF is like over $21,600. So almost $22,000 for a single cycle. And the reality is, a lot of women take 2 and 3 and sometimes 4 and 5 cycles in order to get pregnant. So it's not cheap. Let me just read some IVF cost estimates for you. The service fees, the cost ranges, right? But the base fee is $9,000 to $14,000. Consultation and diagnostic testing, and I'll put it on the screen, is $250 to $500. Medications and injections, $3,000 to $7,000. Cryopreservation is $1,000 to $2,000. Storage fees, $500 to $1,000. Child, I don't know how you pronounce this, but here we go. Intracytoplasmic sperm injection. I think I got that. $1,000 to $2,000 Genetic testing, you're going to want that, $4,500 to $5,500. Mock embryo transfer, $240 to $500. Donor sperm fee is $1,000 to $1,500. Donor eggs, $20,000 to $60,000. And this source is from Fertility IQ. And I wanted to read all of that to you all because I want you to have a greater understanding of the costs involved with IVF so that you don't flippantly say to someone who might be having difficulty conceiving, oh, just go do IVF, because it's an extremely expensive venture. You're talking about money that could be used towards a down payment for a house. Some people have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars in the hopes that you will have a child. So it's very, very costly. And I know I led with the IVF issue, but I also want you to understand that the people who are going to extremes to have a baby aren't just people who are infertile. Let's really have a bigger conversation here. You have people who are single, they don't have a partner, they haven't had a partner in years, and they're seeing their window of opportunity closing. And so it's very difficult to come to grips with the fact that you might not have a child. That happens quite often. You have same-sex couples, 2 men, 2 women, who they cannot produce or reproduce a child together. And so they have to look externally in order to have a child. That's an expensive venture. You have women who cannot carry the child. Even if they could conceive it, they couldn't carry the child. And so they have to look to, surrogacy. Then you have women who are capable of getting pregnant, but they cannot bring the child forth. Either they continue to have miscarriages and doctors are saying, hey, you're killing your body with this. Just stop. You need to now look towards having a surrogate to carry your child. You know, that could be an issue as well. And so they're going to extreme lengths. And going back to the people who don't have a partner, what's happened is a lot of them go to sperm banks or seeking out people like a Dutch man by the name of Jonathan Meyer, who has fathered like over 500 kids and possibly up to 1,000 kids because they just need a sperm donor. And that's happening quite often as well. There's another fella. I mean, you guys probably have seen him all over the news. I certainly saw him on the Tamron Hall show. I'd read about him, but I saw him on the Tamron Hall show. His name is Ari Nagel, who has fathered 173 kids. And I think he said he was going to retire, but we don't know. So now you're introducing, someone else into the equation, and he wanted to be a part of the children's lives, but that's almost 200 kids. But women are seeking these men out because they just want to be able to have a child. And I understand that. I do. But then I also start to think about the child. Like, does your desire to be a parent, your wanting to be a parent, trump your child's long-term happiness or feeling complete or feeling whole? It's a question. Because I think it's one that people need to consider. I'm not saying that they shouldn't go and get sperm donors, but does your need trump your child's need? For some women, they might think, well, I'll find a partner eventually and that person can father my child, but I need to have the child before the window closes. But I don't know. I just think about the child in that moment too. It's not an easy decision. And maybe you guys can tell me how you feel about that, particularly the women who have gone to sperm banks to conceive or sought out a friend or, someone, they've known for years, that's a friend, to conceive a child. Like, what has that been like? Because I always think about things from all angles. Is my child going to feel incomplete, not knowing who their father is? I think about like kids who are adopted and how a lot of them start to seek out their, biological parents because they just want to know where they came from. And for some, they don't care. And others, it's a source of consternation because it's like, I don't know who I am. And when you introduce a sperm donor, But if you really think about it, you have a lot of people who know who their fathers are and they weren't involved in their lives anyway. So, that happens too. But it's a really, really tough conversation. You have people who are spending hundreds of thousands of dollars, like I said, and some people who are just like, by any means necessary, I will have a child. For those of you who don't have kids, like, are you a by any means necessary type of person? Or would you allow that door to close because you don't want to put your child through having a potential identity crisis later on in life? I don't know. Mother's Day just went. And I think about so many women who are not biological mothers. You know, they might be, or they have no children. They might be, you know, dog moms or plant moms, or, you know, function like surrogate moms to, you know, their nieces, nephews, that sort of thing. But I always wish women in general happy Mother's Day. It doesn't take anything off of me to do it. And I don't do it in a performative way. I do it because I feel like every woman who has been involved in a child's life in one way or another is a mother. And so I remember just putting a greeting on in my community page here on, or my community post here on YouTube. And there were so many women who said, hey, thanks for not leaving us out. And I wouldn't leave you guys out because, like I mentioned before, I was raised by a single parent, but I also had a community of women around me. You know what I mean? Aunts and neighbors, friends of my families who, you know, who just were there. Like, they were mothers, dropping me to school, cooking food for me, praying for me, helping me in so many ways. So these people are mothers, you know? So I wouldn't leave anybody out. And I think we don't think about how that holiday is so, you know, it's a wonderful way to celebrate mothers, people who, you know, they have their children. You should celebrate them. But I always think about the people who are going through a difficult time, because especially if they wanted children, if they didn't want kids, you know, it's fine. And I still wish them like a happy Mother's Day. But if you didn't want kids, that's one thing. But if you wanted children and it never happened for you, that's tough for the person. And then I also, because I always talk to women, I always talk to everybody. And one of the things that always comes up, especially for those who are battling infertility or had multiple miscarriages, it does something to them to see people with children and the parents aren't good to the children. You ever seen like a parent like beating up on their kid or mistreating them or talking crazy to their children? It's like, you're like, that's who has children? That these people over here are the ones who have kids who are like abusing their children. And it's hard.
A Miami Gardens mother was caught on camera beating her 3-year-old little girl with a hanger. Records show the mother explained the beating was her way of disciplining the child.
NBC6 reporter Courtney Colon joins us from court.
Oh, you can't get up now, huh? You can't get up now, huh? Shut up.
For me, I've always been able to tell the children who are loved and who are prayed for and planned for. It's just such a vast difference. The people who just laid down and had kids, it shows. You know, they treat their children like an inconvenience, like their children stop their lives. And the people who plan for their kids, man, they are caught up in the rapture of love for those kids. It's such a big difference. So all these things come to mind. All these things come up in conversation. And like I said at the start of this video, you know, I was talking to a woman and she was just like, I don't think it's ever going to happen for me. And I said, I understand that. I completely understand that, but don't say that. Don't say that. Even though you might feel that, don't say that. God has the final say. And it ain't over till it's over. Because let me tell, you know, how many times I watch TikTok videos. I've watched news reports of women who thought they were going through menopause and turned up with kids. I said kids, children, plural. Okay? They went to the doctor like, oh, this menopause is kicking my butt. And they're like, yeah, but I see 2 children. But I see 3 children. Because, you know, God has a way of making up for lost time. So you might be saying, oh, I wanted 4 kids and then I never had the 4 kids. And he just like, bam! and you get your 4 children.
After years of infertility, I got pregnant naturally at 46. I had no idea that would be the easy part. Part 1. Being a child of divorce and having a lot of failed relationships in my own romantic history, and understanding that I wouldn't be able to have children, by the time I got to be in my early 40s, I just kind of thought that having a family was not something that was in the cards for me. One of the people I was dating was an aerial acrobat, a performing circus artist. He was interesting and really cute, and we had a great connection, but it wasn't a situation that I imagined lasting for a long time. When my breasts started getting really sore about a few weeks after my 46th birthday, I figured that menopause had finally arrived. And I talked to my best friend, and she urged me to pick up a pregnancy test. I knew that it wasn't possible that I was pregnant, but I was pregnant, confirmed by a blood test a week later and relayed to me over the phone by a very jovial nurse.
I would definitely say, it gets hard. It gets very, very difficult, but do not give up hope. That's a big thing. And don't give up hope. What else was I going to say? I was going to make a mention of something someone said to me. Damn it. See, this is the importance of making little notes. And I forgot. And it was such a great point what this girl was making. But anyway, God has a way of making up for lost time. And it ain't over till it's over. That's my point. But these are the extreme lengths that women and men are going through or to have kids. They're doing adoption, which, that's another thing that people love to say. Just go and adopt a kid. Just go and adopt. Adoption is not cheap. I don't even know if I should share this story. This isn't my story. But I know a couple that was fostering a beautiful child. And the child was, the child's mother was on drugs. And so they had this baby from she was like a day old. And then, she's growing up with them and they told her this is just a foster situation. But the parents don't hear that. And I understand they don't hear it because you start to fall in love with this kid. This is your baby. You had this baby from they were 1 day old. That becomes your child. And then heartbreak because now the mother gets clean. Sorry. And the judge says, return this child to its mother. And then you can't blame them because you would hope that somebody wants their kid, right? But then the couple that was starting to fantasize about a life with this child forever now has to deal with the fact that the child is gone. It's tough. Fostering is tough, especially when you get attached to the kid. Adoption is expensive and it is an emotional roller coaster and it's a lengthy process. Don't think Orphan Annie. Don't think Annie. Okay, because it's expensive unless I suppose if you have a lot of money, you can move things through the system faster. But for the average person, it's not cheap and it's not quick. So it's really tough. Anyway, like I said, this is a conversation I wanted to have on the platform for a very long time. I don't even know if you all have an interest in this. I hope that it does spread because there's so many people who are going through it. And I think you can always find community down below in the comments section, people sharing their struggles. And you know what I also realized too? And I just thought about it. I said, it ain't over till it's over. But there are going to be people who come in the comment section and said, it just didn't happen for me. I prayed, I hoped, I planned, I saved, I did everything. And it just did not happen. And I wish I had the right words to say to you. I don't know why it didn't happen. Only God knows. And I know for some of you who aren't believers or who are believers but just are so angry, that probably means nothing to you. I don't know why it didn't happen. But I'm just of the mindset that nothing that is for you will pass you by. And if God didn't see fit for it to happen, then he knew why. And I know that does not give people any solace. But that's all I can think of. That's all I can say in this moment. There are a lot of people who say that they want children, but if they really evaluate their lifestyle and their lives, they might find that they quite enjoy the freedom and flexibility of just going and coming when they want and not having to deal with children. Children are expensive. I've literally heard women on TikTok say, if I could do it again, I wouldn't have kids. But it's easier to say that when you've had children. And again, it goes back to my point about how so many people who have children didn't plan for them, didn't pray for them, didn't really want them. They just had them. So, I suppose in some respects that child cramped their lifestyle. But, I've heard a lot of women say, don't have no kids, don't have no children. If I could do it again, I wouldn't do it. But they don't know. If they didn't have children, they might be the very ones crying for them. So, Anyway, guys, I hope you got some value from this video. I hope this is something that resonated with you all. And I hope we get a great conversation going down below. If you enjoyed this video and it meant something to you, please give it a thumbs up. And I always ask for the thumbs up because it helps YouTube to understand that this is valuable content that you enjoyed and that somebody else might enjoy as well. So just give it a thumbs up. Some of you are going through really difficult times and you might not feel led or in the mood to even share a comment down below. Just leave a thumbs up for the video if you enjoyed it. And for those of you who have been through the ringer, trying to pursue parenthood and it's worked or it hasn't worked, please leave your comments down below because I really would love to know how you guys feel, how you're coping, how are you managing? Do you fill the void with something else or do you, or is the void still there? I remember Shamar Moore. I'm going to say this before I go. Y'all know Shamar Moore, the actor? He used to be on Young and the Restless. And then that cop show, I can't remember which one it's called. But Shamar Moore had a child, his first child in his 50s. And I remember reading a comment from him in one of the magazines. And he said, he was so in love with his child. And he was like, I feel like I would have basically died empty or gone to heaven with a hole. I think that's what he said. I feel like if I didn't have a child, I would have gone to heaven with a hole. And I'll put the exact quote on the screen. But I think that's what it was. I feel like I would have gone to heaven with a hole in my heart. And that was so sad to hear. It was so sad to know that somebody wanted something so badly in life that they didn't get it. They feel like even in the afterlife, that would have, presented a hole in their heart. But I remember that. And that is the reality for a lot of people. Anyway, I have spoken so long in this video. I did not intend for it to be this long. But again, these are the kind of conversations I like on my platform as well. So drop your comments down below. Give it a thumbs up. Watch my other videos as well. And I will see you all in my next video. By the way, before I go, be sure to go to my blog and sign up for my newsletter. You can also sign up for the newsletter inside of my description box. And if you want to contribute to this channel, you can do so by buying me a coffee. The link is down below in the description box. There are so many ways that you can give, and it really does help with everything on this channel. I do buy a lot of coffee, I'm not gonna lie, but equipment's expensive. And I try not to put so many ads. I turn down ads a lot because I realize that unless I'm really feeling it, I don't want to do it. And number two, I really just want to talk to you guys and not have to always put an ad in the middle of the video. I want a seamless conversation with you guys. And so the way to offset that is really through contributions to the channel. It's not a pressure for you all, but I'm just saying if you're in a position to do it, you can. And I always say too, if you don't have any money to give, there's another way that you can still put money in my pocket, and that's by watching a few of the ads. So when the ads play, and I know y'all don't want to watch 10 ads back to back, but watch an ad in its entirety or 2 ads in their entirety. And that helps my channel. It really does. So I will see you guys in my next video, and God bless you all. And I hope that whoever is going through the most difficult time in their lives right now, that God comforts you. And I know when you mention God, people get really upset and, oh, I don't want to hear this on this channel. Well, I'm a Christian. I make no apologies for that. And I do hope that God blesses you with what you want, the secret desires of your heart, and that you get your bundle of joy. And like I said, God also has a way of making up for lost time. So don't be surprised if you end up with twins, triplets, quintuplets. Quintuplets is 5. What is 4? What is 4? What is 4? Now I having a dumb day. Hold on. What you call 4 babies? Quadruplets. Girl, you having a dumb day. Having a dumb day. Quadruplets. Twins, triplets, quadruplets, quintuplets. And you be like, whoa. See you next time. Love you guys. Mwah. Bye.